Hi, welcome to the Gamesplainer. I'm Jeff the Gamesplainer and today I'm gamesplaining Tapestry. So straight away you can see that this is a pretty immense game. There's a lot of stuff going on. I will try and get through it as quickly as I possibly can. The game is a civilization building game. In essence, you are using these which track how much of each item you have, and each time you do something you will be using one of them. Your turn consists of moving one of these markers along one spot on one of the 4 tracks around the board. Once you move, you will then do what the spot says. It costs one of these resources in order to move that along. Once you've run out of resource, so all of them are down to 0, or you could do it before that if you wished, but once all of them are down to 0, you'll have another income phase. And on your income phase, you're looking at the things that you have available on the pictures. So once a whole bunch of these have been removed, you'll be able to push this guy up to the number 3, for example, and next guy's to the number 1. The game will continue on until everyone has finished their 5th age. That can happen at very different times. So the first person out of moves is probably going to be sitting around for a little bit waiting for the other players to finish their turns. When you take these markers off their spots, or these little houses, you'll place them normally onto this. This is your capital city. Whenever you fill up one of the squares, it doesn't matter which colored pieces are used, you will gain 1 resource. When we get to scoring, you're also going to get a score for any rows or columns that are complete. Notice I didn't put anything on the spots that have the red dot. The red dot is already complete and can't be built on. As you're moving along the tracks, you'll notice there's sections 1 through to 4. If you are the first player to move from the 3rd section of area 1 into area 2, you will take the building of that type. So that's the exploration. The level 1 building is this one. Level 1 is at this end and it gets up to level 3. You will then place that anywhere in your city that it can sit. So it couldn't sit here because this spot has already been taken. These are allowed to go off the edge of any of the spaces just because quite often you'll run out of area. It's better obviously to fill in a spot. And once that one's complete, then that will be another 9, so we'll be able to push a thing further forward on the resource track. It is only the first person on each track that will be able to build that building. Anyone else who now comes across there doesn't get any benefit. But notice the cost has gone up, the cost goes up again to 3 resources, and then the cost goes up to just 2 of the mushrooms on that particular case. If you're moving along this track, the technology track, quite often that will allow you to gain these yellow cards. You can gain one of the 3 face up or the face down card. It's your choice. And that goes into the bottom column. At the point where we go to a scoring, you'll be able to move one of these cards up and therefore see the circle. We'll be able to take the benefit in the circle, which in this case is 4 points. When you get to a scoring again, you could move that up again. But you need to make sure that the thing that's underneath the picture has been fulfilled by yourself or one of the other players next to you. So if you're playing a 4-player game, the player opposite you is no good. It's only the 2 on each side of you. If you're playing a 2 or 3-player game, obviously anyone is fine. And that will enable you to build one of those extra buildings for that particular card. The first person who moves into a new era will gain an extra resource, or an extra 2 or an extra 3, depending on which era we're moving into or they're moving into. When you move forward an era, you will place a card into that era, and that will have something that will be of benefit to you through this era or straight away, depending on what the wording is, or it may be something you get benefit for at the end of the era. Some of the cards in that deck are trap cards. They are used when you get to combat. So the way combat works, combat happens over on this track. You'll roll the dice whenever you do a combat and take one of the 2 die. What that also enables you to do, combat, is putting these guys out. If this is what the board looks like, he can put his token here because he's next to his previously placed tokens, and he would also get a yellow card because that's the picture on the tile. If that is what the board looked like and he were to move to the armory, he could take over that city. Now the way that that happens is it's really easy to say, I'm taking over that city or that tile. The other token gets laid down to show that you are the boss, but there's got to on there already, which means it can't be taken again. The only thing that can stop that is if white has this card, which is a trap, which will stop him from being able to take that. That card is then played, their token is toppled, and the person who played the card would get another resource. How do we get these down? By this marker just here. Whenever you take a spot that has that marker, you'll put the item down or one of the tiles down. You need to have the tiles in front of you before you can put it down. To get tiles in front of you, it's this picture here, which is also just there. So every time you take an income round, you will take at least one tile. There are space tiles, but they're only existent up the top here, and they're played not on the board, but next to your board as a way of expansion. Whenever you're in the science, if you see the little picture of the die, you're going to roll this die, and whatever side shows up, you'll push your marker forward on that track. If it's obviously a little slashy line, you can do one or the other. So that means taking one of these and putting it into the city as previously shown. The only other major thing on the board are these three spots. The first person who manages to get a building in the middle will put one of their little cubes up here and take 10 points. The points track is on the outside of this board, by the way. Take 10 points. If someone overtakes that, they would then put theirs up there and take 5 points. The same happens with the first person to take over 2 hexes. They'll get 10 points, second person gets 5, and the first person to get to the end of one of these tracks would get the 10 points and the second person gets 5. The only other thing really to deal with is these cards. They have a lot of writing on them, and the writing on them tells you what to do with them. That's called your civilization card, and there's many of them to choose from. There are some spots that will give you extras, so this is the back of them over here. And I believe that's everything, or at least enough information for you to be able to get started. So please go ahead and watch my gameplay to get a feel for how the game actually plays. If you have any comments or suggestions, please write them below. If you have any games that you would like to be gamesplaned, please shoot me an email at thegamesplainer@gmail.com. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at thegamesplainer to keep up to date with the games I'm playing. Subscribe to my videos to keep up to date with the games that I'm gamesplaining. And until next time, enjoy gaming.